1 Kings chapter 18 about a guy named Elijah. Does anybody know who Elijah was? Nobody knows who Elijah was? Elijah was a prophet, a great prophet in the Old Testament. All right? And Elijah lived during the time that prophets were not liked very much whatsoever. Okay? There was actually a king, all right, at the time of Elijah. His name was Ahab. All right? Many of you may know who Ahab is. He had a wife. All right? Does anybody know his wife's name?
Rosa.
Jezebel. Okay?
Oh.
You guys know the name Jezebel, right?
Yep.
All right? Ahab and Jezebel, and they sought out to kill every prophet at that time. So you can imagine if you were a prophet of God at this time, you were fearful for not only people rejecting what you were preaching and rejecting what you were teaching, but you were fearful of your life. All right, and so Ahab at this time was in hiding. He was away because God had told him, look, Ahab and Jezebel are killing all the prophets, so I want you to go away. And then God came back to Elijah and he said, I want you to go to Ahab. I want you to face the man. I want you to stand face to face with him and sword distance of this man. And I want you to tell him that there's going to be a drought in this country. All right? Now, kings didn't like to hear things like that. The reason they didn't like to hear things like that is because kings wanted to be in all control. And they didn't want to be any suffering in their country, because if there's suffering in the country, okay, just like in America right now, there's suffering in America, and who does everybody blame for that suffering?
Barack Obama.
Well, not necessarily just Barack Obama, but the president, right? The government, all right? It's the same thing. So here's the point I want to get to. Elijah was scared for his life, but he went. And he went because God told him to go, all right? And he stood before Ahab, and he said, Ahab, he said, here's what's going to happen. I'm a prophet of God, and he has sent me to tell you that this is what's going to happen in your country. And Ahab said, off with your head. He said, I'm going to kill you. All right? And he said, well, before you kill me, I want to have a challenge. Okay? He said, I want you to take all of your prophets, to all of your false idols, to all of your gods, okay? And Ahab, Jezebel, and all their leaders and all their false prophets, they followed after gods and idols, specifically one named Baal, okay? B-A-A-L, all right? And he said, I want you to take all of your prophets, the 450 prophets of Baal, the 450 prophets of all these other false idols, and he said, I want you to take all of them together, and those guys versus me, all right? So it would be like Elijah, all right, was the Cowboys, all right, and all the other prophets were the Packers, okay? Because the Cowboys are just absolutely awful, and the Packers are absolutely amazing.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what Ahab's thinking in his head. But God had different plans. See? All right. So Elijah said, Ahab, okay, said, okay, I got your plan here. So what are we going to do? What's the challenge? He said, I want us to build to dig in the ground and to build this altar. Okay? And you build an altar to your gods. You dig it. You put you in a bull. All right. And then you pray to your gods for your gods to send fire. All right? So here we're getting to the fire part. Ahab said, yeah, no problem. So he got all his 450 prophets of Baal, and all these prophets come in, and they dig this hole. Okay, now Ahab says, hold on. Just so you know that I'm not cheating, not only do I want you to dig my hole a little bit deeper, but I want you to give me the calf of choice. All right? So they picked this really fat calf, because what happens with fat and fire? It burns faster and stronger, right? They picked this fat calf for them, for themselves. And for Elijah, what did they pick?
Skinny
A
one.
little
Scrawny
muscular.
little Mason-sized calf. Okay? Itty bitty sized calf. Okay? So Elijah, all of them, they're thinking, oh, we got them. We're going to win, all right? We're going to win because we're cheating a little bit. We're going to win because, yeah, we know we're going to win, right? So they get these calves and these altars built. They dig they dig these holes to the ground. They cover them up. They put the calf in there, okay? And then Elijah says, hold on. Just so that you know that my God is real, I want you to take gallons of water and pour it into the hole that has been dug. So they take water upon buckets of water, and they pour it into the hole. Okay? So much so that the water was overflowing. Okay? It's like, there's no way that these rocks, these stones, all right, and that this hole in this calf is going to burn. There's no way with it being soaked and wet. No way whatsoever. Okay? So here's what happened next. Okay? The prophets went first. They said, we'll go first, and we're going to pray to our heavens, to our God, for him to send fire. And they got and they started praying. They were praying so loud. They were yelling at the top of their lungs. They wanted their gods to send fire so badly. They were yelling and God, and their gods did not send fire. And they were not there. They were saying, Baal, if you're there, send me fire. And there was no fire. And they started getting upset. And they started thinking, well, maybe Baal can't hear me. What's going on? So they yelled louder. And as they yelled louder, they started cutting themselves. Okay? Because they wanted to spill their blood. And they were so angry. They were cutting themselves. They were yelling. All right? They were doing things to themselves that were unholy and impure. Okay? Because they wanted their gods to pay attention. It was a plea. Just like sometimes in life, how we do negative things to get a plea for what?
Attention.
Attention. They wanted attention from these gods that were not there. So they were doing all these negative things for the attention of their gods. No fire came. And Elijah, being holy, being pure, being humble before God, and having the faith that he did, got down on his knees before what he had built. Massive stones overfilling water in this hole. Tiny calf to be burnt. And he didn't yell. He didn't cut himself. He bowed down before God. And he said a prayer. But this prayer was special, you see, because he didn't even open his mouth. How many of you have ever prayed in your head before? You ever thought about how awesome it is that God can hear our prayers even when we don't open our mouth? He can hear us cry in our hearts, in our souls. He knows even when we are not physically praying to God in our heads, even when we're not laying down at night, but we have something so heavy on our hearts and we're hurting so badly because we're away from family and loved ones and friends, and we know that we've done wrong and we're feeling guilty, and we know we need to pray, but we're not. God is hearing your heart, even at that time. That's how God awesome is. That's how awesome God is. And Elijah prayed for him to send fire. And the fire came. And the fire came so much so that everything within that hole was consumed. The stones. Have you ever tried to burn a stone? The stones were consumed with fire, and there was nothing left. That's how strong that fire was. All that was in was consumed. When we allow God to come so deeply into our hearts, into our souls, and into our lives, he sends a fire so consuming, so strong, so overpowering, that we have no choice but to literally be on fire for God. And everyone around us can see. And all we got to do is pray. And live for him the way he desires us to. There's so many struggles in life. There's so many things that we go through. And I know each and every one of you, I want to go home, and each and every one of you have different circumstances why you're here and why you cannot go home right now. And you're fighting to get home. Okay? But I want you to be comforted by the words of Isaiah. Because you may not know what's going on in your life. But the oldest person here is, what, 17, 18? Okay? In the group home. The oldest person here is like 85 or something. Okay? No, but the oldest person in this group home is, what, 17 or 18, right? You have your whole life ahead of you if you choose for it to be ahead of you. And if the good Lord above blesses you with life on this earth. But what you also have ahead of you is eternal life or death, whatever you choose. And sometimes in the midst of everything, we look and 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 we can't find, because all we see behind us is darkness. All we see in front of us is darkness, and we don't know where to turn because it's dark. And maybe all the light we have is a little fire that we've been able to build just because we found a few sticks in the woods. Listen to the words of Isaiah. He says in chapter 30, Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21, he says, whether you turn to the right or turn to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. Sometimes looking is not the answer. That is when it is best to close your eyes and just listen and trust. God puts so much focus on listening, so much focus on hearing. Sometimes it is better for us to be blind in life so that our strength of listening is increased. If we just listen to what He is telling us, this is for us all. This is even to myself. If we just listen to what He's telling us, He will send a fire so consuming and so powerful that it will change our lives. But we must listen. Father God, I'm so thankful again for all the blessings You give to us, God. And I just pray at this time, Father, that the words that have been spoken are uplifting and in accordance to Your will, Father. And I pray that something is said, Father, will just touch just one individual here tonight, Father. We know it'll be a blessing if it just touches one individual, Father, but we know You are at work when this happens. But God, if it so be Your will, I pray that the words that have been spoken, that You have spoken through me, Father, are so powerful and consuming that everybody who has heard and seen tonight will be changed, Father, in some way. I pray that we can all come to You and that we will give You the glory and honor, Father. I give You all glory for all things that have been said and done tonight. And I thank You for the many blessings, Father, just the blessing to be able to have this opportunity to gather in Your name. In this Jesus' name we pray. Amen.